Pirates of the Caribbean, one of the most successful franchises of all time, has generated 5 films, with the 6th on the way. Over these 5 movies, audiences have been introduced to many unforgettable characters, including Captain Jack Sparrow, Hector Barbosa, and the infamous Captain Salazar, as they traverse the world in search of treasures and adventures. In these adventures across the 7 seas, we see many of the legendary monsters and characters that have become iconic in this saga. From mythical creatures to supernatural pirates, many of these beings have left a lasting impact on the franchise. For this reason, I have taken on the task of gathering the 9 best characters and creatures from the franchise and presenting them to you in this ranking. Number 9. Zombie Officers. The zombie officers were part of the crew who served under the nefarious pirate Captain Blackbeard aboard the infamous ship Queen Anne's Revenge. Perpetually ill-tempered and devoid of free will, these zombies unquestioningly followed Blackbeard's orders. Emotionless and tireless, the zombie crew of the Revenge was legendary for its ruthless discipline. Once mere men, Blackbeard used his dark magic and the fiery power of Queen Anne's Revenge to transform them into his fearless henchmen. Their unwavering loyalty to Blackbeard made them a formidable adversary for any sailor. These obedient supernatural beings were most notably seen assisting Blackbeard during the search for the Fountain of Youth. Sometime after he repaired the Queen Anne's Revenge, Blackbeard delved deeper into dark arts, gaining supernatural powers and compelling the zombie crew to carry out his cruel commands and horrifying tasks that the living would refuse to perform. One of Blackbeard's zombies, specifically the quartermaster, was even given the ability to foresee events before they occurred. After reuniting with his beloved daughter Angelica, Blackbeard made Angelica his second-in-command, giving her the rank of first officer and command over Blackbeard's zombie crew. Number 8. The Mermaids. Mermaids are legendary aquatic creatures with the upper body of a human woman and the tail of a fish. They first appear in Pirates of the Caribbean, on Stranger Tides, and in Pirates of the Caribbean, The Magic Kingdom, among other appearances. Beautiful, intriguing, and dangerous, these mermaids will do anything to protect their homes, located in the Bay of White Cape, which serves as the final stretch of the journey to the Fountain of Youth. Known to gather here for hundreds of years, they instill terror in the hearts of sailors and pirates alike. Drawn to the surface by a singing sailor, they enchant their prey before dragging them into the bay's depths to devour them. The mermaids first appeared defending themselves from Blackbeard and his crew as they attempted to capture a live mermaid to harvest her tears, which were required for the Fountain of Youth ritual. In a way, these mermaids provide both a complement and contrast to Hans Christian Andersen's original Little Mermaid. While these creatures in Andersen's world could not shed tears due to their lack of immortal souls, the mermaids in On Stranger Tides possess tears that can potentially grant immortality. Number 7. Blackbeard. Captain Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard, is the primary antagonist in Disney's 2011 film, Pirates of the Caribbean, On Stranger Tides. He is an infamous pirate based on the real-life pirate of the same name, determined to claim the Fountain of Youth for himself. Blackbeard is feared by all the world's pirates, except for Hector Barbosa and Davey Jones. This is due to his supernatural powers and cruelty. Captain Blackbeard was the pirate everyone knew and feared, as he was utterly ruthless, malicious, selfish, and sadistic, valuing his own success above that of others. As the Dark Captain sailed the seas, age began catching up with him. Seeking the legendary Fountain of Youth, he grew increasingly serious about his goals, especially when faced with Hector Barbosa and Jack Sparrow. Known for his cruelty toward his prisoners, Blackbeard often tortured them purely for his own amusement, even admitting that watching anguish, pain, and suffering brought him closer to God. On rare occasions, he showed a form of affection for his daughter, Angelica Teach, leaving her in the care of nuns to ensure her well-being. After his vicious years of piracy, he taught her the ways of a worthy pirate, instructing her in sword fighting and other skills. Blackbeard even told Jack Sparrow that his daughter was the only good thing he had ever done in his life. However, in the end, it became clear that Blackbeard viewed her as a pawn like everyone else, as he was perfectly willing to threaten and sacrifice her to get what he wanted, choosing to save himself over his own daughter, which ultimately led to his death. Blackbeard also showed little regard for the lives of the mermaids, seeing them as soulless beings. When he captured one of them, Sirena, he did everything he could to be as cruel and vile as possible, using tactics that involved manipulating Sirena's feelings for Philip and subjecting her to emotional torment, falsely killing Philip in front of her to obtain her tears, which he believed would lead him to the Fountain of Youth. Number 6. Ghost sharks. Ghost sharks are known to inhabit the turbulent, haunted waters of the Devil's Triangle, where the sharks that once lived there were revived as undead creatures. The undead sharks consist of 3 different species: a great white shark, a hammerhead shark, and an additional shark, likely a mako shark. Decades later, these sharks returned to the Seven Seas as phantoms, while the undead crew of the Silent Mary continued hunting pirates on the high seas. Eventually, they tracked down Jack Sparrow and his companions, Henry Turner and Karina Smith, near the waters of Hangman's Bay, where they had just been abandoned in a small boat by Sparrow's former mutinous crew. To dispose of them quickly, Salazar sent the 3 sharks, commanding them to kill Sparrow. After Henry and Karina freed the entire crew of the Mary from their curse, it's likely that the sharks were also freed, allowing them to roam the seas once again. Number 5. Captain Salazar's Ghost Crew. The crew of the Silent Mary was a Royal Spanish Navy crew serving under Captain Armando Salazar. Fiercely loyal to their leader, they followed him through the mysterious waters of the Devil's Triangle, where they all fell victim to an explosion that destroyed their ship. However, even death was not the end for the crew, as they returned to the Seven Seas as ghosts, determined to exact revenge on the man they blamed for their fate, the infamous pirate Captain Jack Sparrow. It is unclear when or where the crew was assembled, but all served aboard the Silent Mary under Captain Armando Salazar, the most notorious pirate hunter in the Royal Spanish Navy. Over the years, they hunted and killed thousands of pirates. In a battle off the coast of the mysterious Devil's Triangle, in what they believed was the final battle of their campaign, the crew successfully destroyed 9 pirate ships, nearly bringing piracy in the Caribbean to extinction. Fiercely loyal to their captain, they followed his orders, sailing after Sparrow into the mysterious waters of the Devil's Triangle, where their ship was shattered by rocks within the triangle. This ignited the gunpowder stored on board, consuming the vessel in relentless flames. Although they can pursue anyone at sea, they cannot set foot on land, as they would perish instantly upon doing so. This was demonstrated when one crew member attempted to attack Sparrow, but was incinerated to black dust as soon as his foot touched land. The entire crew, including notable officers Magda, Santos, Moss, and Lieutenant Lazaro, were ultimately devoured by the sea and drowned due to the powers of Poseidon's trident. Many crew members attempted to reach an anchor intended to save Captain Jack, Karina, and Henry, but only 2 crew members, along with Captain Salazar, managed to get on board. However, this didn't last long, as Barbosa sacrificed himself to save his daughter Karina, piercing Salazar in the back with his sword. Salazar fell, pulling the other 2 crew members off the anchor with him, sealing the fate of each member of the Silent Mary's crew. Number 4. The Kraken. The Kraken was a legendary sea monster, a leviathan sent to hunt unsuspecting ships and sailors. A terrifying creature with tentacles resembling a giant squid, it was said to be as long as 10 ships. This fearsome beast became the subject of many legends and traditions that circulated for centuries across the 7 seas. Few had seen the Kraken and lived to tell the tale. The word Kraken was first heard in maritime lore and mythology, referring to a creature with many arms or tentacles that could reach up to the top mast of a ship and overturn a fully equipped vessel with little effort. The Kraken's massive suckers were strong enough to tear the flesh from a sailor's face. Under Davey Jones's command, the Kraken brought Jones more and more souls to join his crew aboard the Flying Dutchman, sailors who would be eternally enslaved on his cursed ship. After becoming a marked man with the black spot, ensuring that the Kraken would come for him, Captain Jack Sparrow tried to find the dead man's chest, which contained Davey Jones's heart. Jack planned to use the heart to force Jones to call off the Kraken's attack. However, Jack's plan ultimately failed, as he ended up facing the ruthless Kraken, which dragged both Jack and the Black Pearl to the ocean's depths. Later, to Davey Jones's dismay, who was then under the East India Trading Company's control, the Kraken would meet its demise as Lord Cutler Beckett's forces took to the seas. Number 3. Captain Barbosas' Cursed Crew. The Cursed Crew was the pirate crew of the Black Pearl, a notorious band of rogues, murderers, traitors, drunkards, and miscreants, led primarily by the infamous Captain Hector Barbosa. Originally sailing under Jack Sparrow, the crew participated in the quest to find Cortez's treasure on Isla de Muerta. Barbosa, who was Jack's first mate aboard the Black Pearl, led a mutiny against Jack, leaving him marooned on a deserted island. Sometime after finding the treasure, the crew fell under the Aztec curse, a curse they initially thought was mere superstition and didn't believe to be true. Barbosas' crew was doomed to live forever as undead, transforming eerily into living skeletons under the moonlight. To break the curse, Barbosa led his crew in search of the 882 pieces of Aztec gold, which had to be fully restored along with a blood debt to be repaid. The crew spent 10 years gathering all the gold and attempting to lift the curse. After the curse was lifted, the crew was captured by the British Royal Navy. They later escaped from prison and were eventually led by Bosun after Barbosas' death. Number 2. The crew of the Flying Dutchman. The crew of the Flying Dutchman consisted of a large number of souls aboard Davey Jones' ship. Jones's monstrous crew was made up of doomed sailors who chose to serve 100 years before the mast, rather than face certain death at sea. With each passing year, the crew members became less human, their bodies taking on the characteristics of the sea, until they ultimately became part of the Flying Dutchman itself. After Jones's own death, the crew returned to normal, with Will Turner as the new captain of the Dutchman. Number 1. Davey Jones. Davey Jones was the supernatural ruler of the seven seas, as the cursed captain of the Flying Dutchman. A fearsome and ruthless leader, he struck terror into the bravest of sailors, becoming the subject of various myths and pirate folklore, particularly regarding Davey Jones's locker and the Flying Dutchman. According to one particular legend, Davey Jones was once a great sailor until he fell in love with the sea goddess Calypso. He was entrusted with the Flying Dutchman and the sacred duty of transporting the souls of those who died at sea to the afterlife. Out of love, Davey Jones agreed to set foot on land once every 10 years, where he would be free to be with Calypso. But when he arrived on land after his 10 years of service, Calypso was nowhere to be found, abandoning him. When the first Brethren Court gathered, Davey Jones conspired with them to strip Calypso of her dominion over the seas, imprisoning her in the body of a mortal woman. It was Jones who told the Brethren how to bind Calypso into human form. However, he never stopped loving her, though the pain she caused him was unbearable. Soon, Jones's guilt grew so overwhelming that he tore out his own heart and locked it away in the dead man's chest. Abandoning his duty, Davey Jones returned to the seven seas, only to become feared by sailors everywhere. He had become fierce and cruel, with an insatiable thirst for all things brutal. Davey Jones preyed on dying and lost sailors, his cursed ghost ship, the Flying Dutchman, now terrifying the seas. Those seeking to avoid death and final judgment agreed to serve Jones aboard his enchanted vessel, eventually becoming part of the ship itself, enslaved forever by their terrifying captain. Davey Jones also commanded the Kraken, a massive sea beast resembling a squid. Hey, don't go just yet. If you enjoyed my video, I'd love to recommend another one for you to watch.